We have heard just accounted in the first reading and again in the gospel of two groups of individuals who are climbing a hill, a mountain. One is a father and a son, and the other is Jesus and three of his closest intimate disciples. As they walk, there is an uncomfortable and reflective silence among them as they struggle with some news that they really were not expecting. News that confused them. News that they didn't even know what to do about it. The father, in that first reading, Abraham, had just been shockingly told by God the following: "Take your son Isaac, your only son, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. There you should offer him up as a holocaust on a height that I will point out to you." The disciples, Peter, James, and John, a few days earlier to this event narrated in the gospel, had just heard some very difficult revelation that Jesus had given to them. He began to teach them that the Son of Man was destined to suffer grievously, be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, and to be put to death. Let's just imagine, if you don't mind for a moment, we could hear the inner thoughts in conversations going on as each group moved slowly up the hill that they were climbing. "Dad, where are we going?" "Well, son, I thought we could climb the mountain and just enjoy being together. The weather's so nice." "But Dad, why are you asking me to carry this load of kindling wood on my back? And why are you carrying that big knife that you use to slaughter sheep for sacrifice? And why are you so quiet and serious? Is there something wrong, Dad? Something going on?" Abraham couldn't reply. He was so confused by what God was asking of him. Why would the God that he so faithfully served ask him to sacrifice his only son? As he looked at Isaac, he could not hold back his sorrow and his anger at God. Why was this being asked of me? What kind of a so-called loving God could ask a father to do such a horrible thing as to kill his only son? And can we even begin to imagine what Isaac, the son, thought as his father tied him up, placed him on a bed of wood, and stood over him with a dagger in his hand? The disciples that followed Jesus up the hill must have been thinking some very confusing thoughts also. What did Jesus mean when he talked about suffering and dying and being rejected? We didn't know that was part of the package. We gave up so much to follow him, and for what? Were all the miracles we saw some kind of magic performed by a fraud? Was he just leading us on when he talked about establishing a new kingdom of peace and justice? Was all that he said just words, promises that he would never fulfill? We were convinced he was someone very special. Now we wonder if all this journey with him was a sham. I don't know if that was the conversation, but I bet it was there. There was a lot of confusion. Kill one's own son. And to be told that I've called you to come with me and to follow me and would establish a kingdom, and now I tell you I'm going to be rejected and killed. Each of us, in some way or another, big or small, we have to climb our hill too. And maybe now are climbing our own journey filled with the same kind of doubt and confusion. You may be caused by a real health crisis, difficult aging process. It may be a family issue, a tragedy, a breakup, an alienation. It may be a financial crisis, loss of a job, an inability to find a job that will help me better care for my family's needs. Maybe an addiction I can't find the courage to face, or a relationship that I know is not healthy, or a serious religious doubt. We're climbing that hill, and those things are on our mind. And we're wondering, where's God? Like Abraham and Isaac, like Peter, James, and John, we're asking God why. We might be saying, does God even care? Will God help me through this, or does he get some joy out of seeing me suffer? The readings speak of that personal anguish, but also, if we complete the reading, then we know that God was present. He stopped Abraham. He would have never allowed Abraham to do that. That was against every Jewish law possible to sacrifice a human person. But God was testing him and found that Abraham could still love God, and even in the midst of that complete suffering and doubt that he had. And the apostles, even though they were disappointed at what Jesus had told them, God didn't leave them. By his transfiguration, he showed them that I will not allow death to win. And so the voice from heaven, God from above, his Father, speaks down, and he says to him so very clear, this is my beloved Son. Listen to him. And so there's a wonderful message in that reading, because it speaks to our own concerns, and it tells us God is listening to us, even in the midst of that fear that we're going through. God wants to assure us also of his desire to be among us, to encourage us in our mountain experiences. He will lead us, walk alongside of us, and be kind to us always. God is faithful to his covenant. I will be your God. You will be my people. Lent encourages us to let go of our fears and to trust God will not abandon us in our moments of doubt and discouragement. Let the words spoken by God at the Transfiguration echo in our ears. This is my beloved Son. Listen to him. Listen to what Jesus says. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Maybe in our prayer today, in the silence after the gospel, we can reconnect with God in the midst of our doubt and confusion and worries and trials, and restore within ourselves that confidence that God is still with us, that God takes no joy in that suffering. He wants to sit with us, hold our hand, lead us to that confidence and trust that he is our God and we are his people.